Hidden within the fabric of modern civilization is an invisible mathematical engine, silently working at every hour of the day, indifferent to the rise and fall of empires. It is a force that has built dynastic fortunes from mere pennies, funded global conquests, and, conversely, chained millions to lifetimes of inescapable financial servitude. Often attributed to the genius of Albert Einstein, who supposedly dubbed it the eighth wonder of the world, this phenomenon is not a secret guarded by the elite, but a fundamental law of physics applied to human commerce. Those who understand its mechanics earn its rewards, while those who remain ignorant are doomed to pay its steep price. The top 10 surprising ways compound interest shapes your finances reveal a dual natured beast of unparalleled power. It is both a builder of unprecedented wealth and a ruthless architect of crushing debt, operating right under our noses. Number 10, the invisible multiplier. The phenomenon begins with a deceptively simple concept known as interest on interest. Unlike simple interest, which stubbornly only calculates gains on the original sum you deposit, this compounding force takes your initial money, adds the freshly generated earnings, and then calculates the next round of growth on that newly expanded total. It is an endless, self-feeding loop of creation. A single dollar, left undisturbed in a highly optimized compounding environment, effectively begins to reproduce, creating offspring that immediately mature and begin generating offspring of their own without requiring any additional labor from you. Over a few short months, the effect is barely noticeable, akin to watching a glacier inch across a frozen valley. Yet, over the span of decades, this microscopic financial cellular division transforms modest, unassuming savings into staggering, almost incomprehensible fortunes, operating entirely independent of human toil. Number 9, the time traveler's advantage. This brings us to the most critical, yet frequently misunderstood, ingredient in the compounding formula, which is time itself. Early investing creates a mathematical distortion in the fabric of personal wealth that heavily favors the youth of the investor over the sheer volume of their initial capital. A person who begins setting aside a seemingly insignificant sum in their early 20s will almost always financially eclipse someone who starts in their late 40s, even if the older individual invests significantly larger amounts of money each month. The older investor is fighting a desperate, uphill battle against a rapidly shrinking horizon. The math governing this reality is entirely ruthless and deeply counterintuitive. Because the younger person's money has more compounding cycles to undergo, the interest generated in the final years of their investment timeline absolutely dwarfs the total principal they ever contributed out of their own pocket. Time, rather than immense starting wealth, acts as the true catalyst for exponential financial growth. Number 8, the dark side of the coin. But this mathematical marvel possesses a terrifyingly destructive alter ego, manifesting globally as debt acceleration. When the formula is flipped against the consumer, the exact same mechanism that quietly builds generational fortunes begins to aggressively devour them. Credit card companies understand this principle intimately, utilizing the dark side of compounding as the bedrock foundation of their entire trillion-dollar business model. When you carry a balance from one month to the next, the issuer charges interest not just on your original purchase, but on the unpaid interest that accumulated the month before. A sudden emergency expense placed on plastic can quickly mutate into an unrecognizable financial monster. The original cost of the repair or medical bill is soon forgotten, replaced by a multiplying shadow of fees and accrued interest that grows heavier with each passing billing cycle, trapping the unaware in a suffocating financial labyrinth. Number 7, the Rule of 72. To truly grasp the terrifying speed of this invisible engine, mathematicians and financial insiders rely on a brilliant mental shortcut. By simply dividing the number 72 by your annual interest rate, you can pinpoint almost exactly how many years it will take for your money, or your debt, to completely double in size. If an investment yields an 8% return, your capital will clone itself in exactly 9 years, requiring no further input from you. This simple act of division strips away the complex, intimidating algebra, revealing the stark, undeniable reality of exponential curves in a way the human brain can easily process. It transforms abstract percentages into a loud, ticking clock. Suddenly, a seemingly harmless 20% interest rate on a personal loan reveals its true predatory face, threatening to double the total debt burden in just over 3.5 years if left unchecked by aggressive, oversized payments. Number 6. The daily bleed. The frequency of these calculations drastically alters the final outcome, a reality most evident in the stark difference between annual and daily compounding. While a traditional savings account might graciously compound your interest once a month or once a year, predatory lending often operates on a much tighter, far more aggressive schedule. Many credit card agreements stipulate in their fine print that interest accrues daily. Every 24 hours, a microscopic fraction of the annual percentage rate, or APR, is applied to the outstanding balance, adding a tiny, almost invisible weight to the borrower's scale while they sleep. Over the course of a year, this daily calculation results in an effective interest rate that is noticeably higher than the heavily advertised number on the brochure. It is a relentless, continuous bleed of resources engineered with absolute precision to maximize the lender's profit while keeping the borrower perpetually submerged under the rising waterline. Number 5. The snowball effect in action. Whether building a towering mountain of gold or digging a bottomless pit of despair, the momentum generated by this math is universally known as the snowball effect. Picture a small, tightly packed sphere of snow rolling down a vast, uninterrupted, snow-covered hill. At first, it barely gathers mass, turning over and over with little visible change to its diameter or its downward speed. But as its surface area gradually expands, it collects more snow with each revolution, eventually becoming a massive, unstoppable avalanche capable of flattening anything in its path. In the realm of personal finance, this describes the psychological and mathematical triumph of pure momentum. Paying off small debts frees up critical capital to attack larger ones with increasing ferocity, just as reinvesting small corporate dividends eventually creates a roaring river of passive income that can easily rival a full-time executive salary. Number 4. The inflation illusion. Yet this entire mathematical theater plays out against the backdrop of a silent, macroeconomic thief known as inflation. If compounding is the powerful engine of financial growth, inflation is the relentless friction constantly eroding its power and slowing its forward progress. Earning a guaranteed 3% yield in a high-yield savings account feels like a definitive victory until you realize the baseline cost of living is simultaneously rising by 4%. In this deceptive scenario, the digital numbers on the bank screen go up, but actual purchasing power in the real world is quietly bleeding away. To truly harness the eighth wonder of the world, one must strategically position their capital in vehicles that compound faster than the central banks can depreciate the currency. It is a relentless, high-stakes race between the exponential multiplication of your money and the systematic devaluation of fiat currency. Number 3. The minimum payment trap. The most insidious application of this math in modern society is the minimum payment trap, a psychological snare designed to maximize corporate profits. Lenders calculate these monthly minimums specifically to cover the freshly generated interest, ensuring only a microscopic fraction of your hard-earned money is actually applied to the principal balance. By paying only what is contractually required, a borrower might spend 15 agonizing years and thousands of dollars in interest to clear a simple $1,000 television purchase. The physical item itself will have long since broken, become obsolete, and been discarded in a landfill, but its financial ghost will continue to haunt the buyer's ledger. This perfectly illustrates the asymmetrical warfare inherent in modern consumer finance. The average borrower is fighting a linear battle with a fixed income, while the institutional lender is wielding an exponential weapon that never sleeps, never takes a vacation, and never shows mercy. Number 2. The generational echo. When this exponential curve is allowed to run entirely uninterrupted for centuries, it creates the awe-inspiring and sometimes controversial phenomenon of dynastic wealth. The sprawling fortunes of historical titans, from Renaissance banking families to Gilded Age industrialists, were not merely preserved in vaults, they were continuously compounded across generations. A trust fund established in the late 19th century, earning a modest but highly consistent return, naturally transforms into an economic leviathan by the 21st century. It creates a surreal reality where the distant descendants of the original earner wield immense financial and political power without ever having to generate new capital themselves. This generational echo highlights the profound, almost terrifying scale of compounding mathematics. It is a force entirely capable of shaping societal structures, funding vast philanthropic endeavors, or dictating the flow of global resources long after the original architects of the wealth have turned to dust. Number 1. The exponential curve. The ultimate revelation of this financial mechanism is the tipping point of the exponential curve, a moment of pure mathematical transcendence. For the first several years of a disciplined investment strategy, the vast majority of the account's total value consists of the money the individual physically sweat for and deposited. The growth during this initial phase feels agonizingly slow, resembling a grueling, linear trudge up a steep, unforgiving mountain. But eventually, if the system is left undisturbed, a magical mathematical threshold is crossed where the interest generated in a single year suddenly eclipses the total amount the individual contributed from their paycheck that same year. From that monumental tipping point forward, the money itself works significantly harder than the human who originally earned it. The curve shoots violently upward, defying the physical limits of human labor and time, proving once and for all that the most powerful force in finance is simply unyielding patience multiplied by the relentless laws of mathematics.